They were the kings of their arenas, men of power, status, and purpose. Yet they all fell the same way, not to injury, not to defeat, but to love. One by one, they signed contracts with forever, only to wake up bankrupt, not just financially, but spiritually. And the world called it romance. But here's the uncomfortable question. Why does the most intelligent species on Earth still fall for the oldest trick in nature's book? Why do men who conquer empires crumble at the whisper of affection? Why do women love a man hardest when his star is rising and vanish when it begins to dim? Researchers from the University of Oxford and Stanford University have explored this question for decades. Their findings are as fascinating as they are brutal. Women are biologically programmed to pursue upward mobility in mating, a phenomenon known as hypergamy. In simple terms, she's drawn to potential. Not who you are, but who you might become. Her attraction is predictive, strategic, instinctual. It's not evil, it's evolution. But here's where nature met capitalism, and the game changed. The ancient instinct to select powerful mates has become the love industrial complex, a multi-billion-dollar system that sells emotion as investment. From wedding culture to celebrity gossip, from dating apps to divorce courts, every layer of society rewards the woman who secures status and punishes the man who mistakes strategy for sincerity. Love, today, isn't the union of two souls. It's a transaction cloaked in poetry. Philosophically, Arthur Schopenhauer saw this coming centuries ago. He called love the will to life, disguised as romance. In his eyes, passion wasn't a miracle, it was a trick. Nature manipulates the individual for the sake of the species. When you fall in love, you're not choosing, you're being chosen by the will. And that will doesn't care about your dreams, your art, or your soul. It cares only about reproduction and security. Now add modern media, social incentives, and legal frameworks to that primitive instinct, and you get the perfect illusion. A system that convinces both sexes that love is moral, when in truth, it's mechanical. A man gives emotion, resources, and loyalty. The system converts it into lifestyle, validation, and control. He believes he's building a partnership. She believes she's securing her future. Nietzsche would call this the female form of the will to power. Not conquest by force, but conquest by alignment. A woman does not need to seize the throne when she can marry the king before he wears the crown. And when the crown falls, she simply walks away undefeated. In this light, modern romance becomes less about hearts and more about timing. She enters when your trajectory is steep. She leaves when your peak threatens to plateau. The love feels real because, for a moment, it is, but it's built on potential, not permanence. And yet, we men keep believing in the fairy tale, the idea that love redeems, that devotion can be bought with sincerity. We call it finding the one, but in reality, it's often the one who finds what you can offer before the world does. The tragedy is not that women are strategic, it's that men are sentimental. We confuse being needed with being loved. We think loyalty is eternal when it's really conditional. Conditional on progress, on status, on promise. The philosopher Otto Weininger argued that the woman is the vessel of the species. She acts on behalf of life itself, not her individual will. When she loves, she does so with the instinct of survival, not the soul of sacrifice. Her loyalty lies with the continuity of her lineage, not with the fragility of your feelings. You call it betrayal, nature calls it adaptation. And so the modern man stands where the ancient hero once did, at the border between illusion and awareness. He has to decide, will he keep serving the myth of love, or will he understand the mechanics behind it? Because the truth is, this love was never designed to make you happy. It was designed to make you useful. Useful to nature, useful to systems, useful to stories that keep the world spinning. So when you see the highlight reels of men who lost everything for love, remember, they didn't lose to women. They lost to the machine of desire, the perfect track built from biology, sentiment, and social conditioning. And until a man learns to see through the mask, until he learns that affection can be strategy and intimacy can be investment. He will keep kneeling before an altar that was never built for his salvation, but for his submission. She doesn't fall in love with you. She falls in love with your potential before the explosion. And when the dust clears, you'll finally see what she was really worshiping, not you, but your trajectory. Every empire has its architects, and every downfall has its muse. In the modern age, that muse rarely holds a sword. She holds affection. And affection, when timed with precision, is the sharpest weapon of all. In locker rooms and private mansions, a silent pattern repeats itself. A young athlete, driven by hunger and purpose, meets a woman who believes in him before the world does. She nurtures him through obscurity, cheers during his rise, and posts poetic captions when his name trends. But when the peak turns to plateau, the love turns to litigation. It sounds cynical, but it's a pattern so common that behavioral economists at Harvard and the London School of Economics began studying it. Their reports on status-driven mating behavior concluded that, statistically, women exhibit stronger attraction to men whose future potential, not current status signals, dominance, security, and visibility. In other words, love isn't just emotional, it's predictive strategy. She's not falling for the man, she's falling for the trajectory. This is the long game of hypergamy, not short-term pleasure, but long-term positioning. She studies ambition like an investor studies markets. And when she finds a man with that dangerous mix of drive and opportunity, she doesn't chase him, she orbits him. She becomes indispensable before the explosion, embedding herself into the narrative of his rise. The tragedy? He mistakes her foresight for loyalty. He sees faith where there's forecasting. He confuses admiration with alignment. Nietzsche would call this the feminine form of the will to power. For a woman, power is not seized, it's secured through attachment. She doesn't dominate the man, she dominates the direction of his energy. And once that direction changes, once the energy that fed her security weakens, nature whispers the same command it always has: migrate upward. From the stands to the tabloids, the same stories play on repeat. Men who gave everything for the woman who believed in them, only to learn that belief had an expiration date. It wasn't personal, it was biological. Because for her, survival isn't cruelty, it's code. Evolutionary psychologists at Cambridge describe this instinct as adaptive mate switching. When a woman perceives that her partner's future success is stalling, her unconscious system begins scanning for new opportunities of security. Not because she's manipulative, but because her instincts fear stagnation more than heartbreak. The modern world, of course, turns this instinct into an economy. Social media becomes a stage where affection is broadcasted as proof of value, love becomes content, and heartbreak becomes public relations. The love industrial complex thrives because it monetizes biology, turning instinct into entertainment and heartbreak into headlines. Yet behind all the gossip and glamour lies an ancient truth. Hypergamy is not a social disease, it's a natural law. The problem isn't her instinct. The problem is his ignorance. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer warned that love is not born from virtue, but from the species' relentless will to continue. To him, romance was the bait biology, the hook. And the man who believes that love exists to serve his happiness is like a moth believing the flame exists to keep him warm. But Otto Weininger took it further. He claimed that women don't love men as individuals, they love the symbol of life force within them. That's why the man who loses his direction loses her respect. The moment his vitality wanes, mentally, financially, spiritually, the polarity that attracted her begins to invert. Her affection cools not from cruelty, but from loss of instinctual gravity. This is why some of the most decorated men in the world end up whispering the same words. She changed. No, she didn't change. She revealed. You were not the man she desired, you were the potential she predicted. Once that potential became reality or failure, the game was complete. So what is a man to do? Resent her? No. Resentment is still dependence. The masculine path is not bitterness, it's understanding. The wise man learns that hypergamy is not personal. It's physics. You cannot hate gravity for pulling you down. You can only learn how to fly within it. Once you understand that her attraction is a mirror of your motion, not your morality, you become untouchable. Because the man who lives in purpose cannot be replaced, he can only be studied. And that's the secret most men never learn. When you stop chasing affection and start cultivating direction, love returns, but this time, it kneels before you. Every empire falls not from outside attack, but from the illusion that devotion is permanent. The man who mistakes strategy for sincerity is not conquered by love, he's consumed by it. And when the empire burns, the silence is deafening. He sits in the mansion he built, surrounded by trophies that no longer speak. Her perfume lingers on the marble floors like a ghost of past victories. He scrolls through old photos, smiles, promises, captions written in forever. But forever ended the moment his momentum did. This is the collapse of the illusion. It doesn't happen overnight. It unravels slowly, one unanswered call, one cold glance, one legal document at a time. The same love that once softened his armor now becomes the blade that strips it away. He once believed love was proof of worth. Now he learns it was proof of usefulness. The woman he adored didn't betray him. She completed her investment cycle. He didn't lose her heart. He lost his value curve. In that moment, a man faces the most painful truth of all. Love was never unconditional. It was conditional on his ability to remain extraordinary. 1. The psychological crash. Neuroscientists at King's College London describe this as reward system dissonance. When a man ties his sense of self to another's affection, the sudden withdrawal of that affection triggers the same neurological pain as physical injury. That's why heartbreak feels like dying, because biologically, part of you is. The athlete who once conquered the field now fights ghosts in his own mind. The entrepreneur who once commanded rooms now doubts his worth in silence. Their tragedy isn't weakness, it's misplacement. They put eternity in hands built for survival. 2. The philosophical descent. Schopenhauer would call this the moment when the veil of Maya tears, when the illusion of love as purpose collapses, revealing raw will underneath. He wrote that man's suffering begins when he mistakes desire for meaning. And here, the man realizes he never loved her. He loved the reflection of himself that her admiration provided. She was the mirror through which he confirmed his divinity. When that mirror shattered, so did his illusion of greatness. Nietzsche warned of this fall. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. But when his why was her, the how becomes unbearable. Without her validation, his purpose dissolves into noise. 3. The abyss of modern men. Look around millions of men drowning in the same invisible tragedy. They live in gyms, nightclubs, and digital escapism, chasing new distractions to fill the vacuum left by the one who completed them. But none of it works. Because the collapse isn't about her leaving, it's about him never having stood alone. Society tells men to chase love as redemption, to find their other half, but halves are for children. The masculine soul was built to be whole. When he depends on affection to define identity, he abandons his natural position command. Otto Weininger foresaw this inversion. He wrote that when a man surrenders his individuality to romantic absorption, he becomes the instrument of another's instinct. That's why heartbreak feels humiliating. It reveals how willingly he enslaved himself. 4. The turning point. But every collapse holds revelation. The pain that once breaks him begins to purify him. In the solitude of loss, the noise fades, and something ancient stirs clarity. He realizes that what he called love was a transaction between instincts. And once the transaction ended, he was forced to meet the one person he'd been avoiding all along, himself. Kierkegaard called this confrontation despair's gift. To stand alone is terrifying, but it's the only path to authenticity. Because the man who survives the death of illusion becomes immune to manipulation. He no longer needs to be adored to feel alive. He begins to rebuild, not as a lover chasing validation, but as a sovereign reforging his purpose. 5. The masculine rebirth. He trains again, not for glory, but for discipline. He works again, not to impress, but to create. He speaks again, not to charm, but to command. The heartbreak that once emasculated him becomes his initiation. And as he rises, something strange happens. Attraction returns. But now he sees it clearly. He recognizes charm as instinct, seduction as strategy, affection as energy exchange. He no longer worships it. He studies it. He plays the same game, but this time he knows the rules. That knowledge is power. Because the man who understands love as instinct can love without illusion. He can give without losing, hold without clinging, walk away without breaking. He doesn't reject women, he transcends dependence on them. The fall was never punishment, it was purification. The collapse of illusion is how the masculine spirit is reborn. And now, from the ashes of heartbreak, rises the man who no longer seeks love but commands it. The fall was never punishment, it was purification. The collapse of illusion is how the masculine spirit is reborn. And now, he stands stripped of romance, wealth, and reputation, but for the first time, awake. The silence that once felt like exile now feels like oxygen. No more whispers of promises, no more music of devotion, only the steady rhythm of his own heartbeat. For the man who has faced betrayal and survived, it has seen the architecture of illusion. And once you've seen the machine, you can never again be its fuel. 1. From sedation to sovereignty. The modern world was designed to soften men, to keep them comfortable, compliant, and distracted, sedated with pleasure, praised for submission. But when pain enters, the sedation breaks. Heartbreak, loss, and betrayal are not curses. They are the rites of initiation. They carve away the excess, the sentimentality, the dependency, until only essence remains. That essence is sovereignty. The ability to move through chaos without begging for affection or approval, to command one's own energy, rather than scattering it for validation. Nietzsche called it self-overcoming. He believed man becomes divine the moment he reclaims the power to shape meaning after meaning has collapsed. In that moment, pain stops being a wound and becomes a weapon sharpened by awareness. 2. Reframing the feminine game. To understand the feminine is not to despise it. Hypergamy is not evil, it's instinct. But to be ruled by it is weakness. The wise man learns to see the pattern without hatred, to love without illusion, and to engage without surrender. Because the moment you see that affection can be strategy, you stop confusing emotion with truth. You can appreciate beauty without kneeling before it. You can protect without being enslaved by gratitude. That's when polarity returns, when masculine direction meets feminine energy without fear. As Kierkegaard wrote, purity of heart is to will one thing. The masculine will is not split between desire and duty, it fuses them. He no longer needs to be chosen, he chooses himself. 3. The return of discipline. When the noise fades, discipline returns like an old friend. He wakes before dawn, not because anyone is watching, but because greatness demands ritual. He trains his body to mirror his mind, unyielding, precise, alive. He works not to chase wealth, but to create order from chaos. Every repetition, every act of restraint, every refusal of temptation becomes a silent prayer to mastery. This is the rebellion the world fears, a generation of men no longer governed by their appetites. Men who have seen through the love industrial complex and chosen purpose over pleasure. Because the man who commands himself is immune to manipulation. He cannot be bought by praise or broken by rejection. 4. The philosophy of rebellion. Schopenhauer saw life as suffering, but he missed the beauty of those who willingly suffer. To suffer consciously is to be reborn as creator. Nietzsche's Übermensch was never about arrogance, it was about awareness. To look directly into chaos and still say yes. To love life even when it betrays you. to remain unbroken when everything once worshipped has turned to dust. That's what it means to be a man in the modern world, not to escape the system, but to transcend it. To see desire, love, and instinct for what they are, ancient codes of survival, and still rise above them with reason and will. Weininger warned that the man who surrenders individuality dies spiritually. Now, that warning becomes a vow. Never again. 5. The new order of men. A new brotherhood is forming, not built on resentment, but on clarity. Men who refuse to blame women or the world, but instead reclaim authorship over their lives. Men who no longer seek rescue and affection because they have already rescued themselves. Men who know that love can exist, but only after sovereignty. Because love without self-command is slavery, and love after mastery is creation. They walk quietly, but the ground trembles. They speak less, but their words weigh tons. They are not loud, they are lucid. And that lucidity is revolution. The 6, the call to the awakened. So if you've been broken, good. If she left, good. If your empire burned, good. Because only ashes can teach you how to build without illusions. You are not a victim of hypergamy. You are its evolution. The man who knows the game no longer plays it for affection. He plays it for legacy. Your purpose is not to be loved. Your purpose is to become love embodied in discipline. The world doesn't need more romantics. It needs more men who remember who they are. Men who stand firm in chaos, who see clearly, who walk as if eternity watches every step. So rise, rebuild, reclaim your crown. And when they ask why you no longer chase, tell them, because the king no longer runs for what kneels by nature. If this truth pierced you, good, it was meant to. This channel isn't for comfort, it's for awakening. Every week, we strip illusion, expose manipulation, and forge men who lead, not follow. So if you're ready to stop chasing affection and start mastering awareness, subscribe. Join the brotherhood. Because the age of blind love is over. Now begins the era of the lucid man.